And Facebook. There you go. You got it.
Great.
Let's give it a little bit. And
Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you for joining us today. I'm coming live from the African American Research Library and Cultural Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My name is Dr. Ramona LaRoche, and I welcome you this afternoon to our Let's Talk Africa program. I'm really excited. We have been planning this gathering for several months, and I have to say that we have an international group here going on, and I am so excited. So what I'd like to do is start off by just telling you a little bit about our speakers today. We'll start with the introduction, and then we'll move into some questions, and we'll definitely leave time for our audience to participate as well. And again, we are streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. So please, if you have other people you want to invite, by all means, share the information. So let me begin by talking a little bit about one of our guests, and I'll start with the Acoma Healing Arts Collective, and that is Sister Keisha and Brother Damon. Together, the couple are on a mission. They want to return melanated individuals from the diaspora home to the motherland. Keisha and Damon are internationally known cultural preservationists and philanthropists amongst diaspora communities in Jamaica, Africa, and the United States. Their work is extensive and includes hosting tours to Ghana biannually, development of an NGO, the Aya Foundation, and teaching the awareness of the Back to Africa movement through their signature event, Let's Talk Africa. Keisha and Damon have adopted 3 schools and aided in providing clean water to 1 orphanage. During the year of the return, they brought 17 diasporans to Ghana and painted a mural alongside Ghanaian artists in celebration of the return of Africa's offspring to the continent. The couple's work has expanded, and in 2020, they founded a diaspora development community in Nuningo, Pram, Ghana, known as the Sankofa Garden Estates. Keisha and Damon are spearheading a team of investors, architects, and engineers to build a gated community that will aid diasporans in a safe return to the motherland. The collective intends on being a portal of support and connection to help the diaspora in learning about investments, repatriation, travel, and educational resources, all related to Africa. They ask that you join their cultural, spiritual, and philanthropic journey to Ghana, West Africa. And you can find them on Facebook. You can like them as well as YouTube. AQ. Our next guest is Sister Natasha Bino. Natasha serves as the Chief Executive Officer for the African Diaspora Institute of Cultural Heritage, Cultural Exchange and Historical Research. CHAIR, is that the acronym, CHAIR? Ms. Bino has worked on many projects that research the lives of enslaved in the Caribbean for the University of West Indies and various government agencies. In January of 2020, she was appointed as the CEO of the newly formed nonprofit organization, the African Diaspora Institute of Cultural Exchange and Historical Research. We are an institute that connects the mosaic of cultures of the Black Atlantic through cultural and educational exchanges and research. For Ms. Bino, there's not enough scholarship as it pertains to the African diaspora histories. It is her vision to create historical and cultural projects to open opportunities for many historians and culturists from around the region and to create public seminars and programs. Her current research explores the spaces in West Africa used for human captivity. The amalgamation of narratives from both sides of the Black Atlantic shows a route filled with unimaginable horrors and triumphs, from the capture to enslavement. The oral histories told by the chiefs, the kings, and the griots are oftentimes in contrast to narratives written in the history books. As of May in 2018, Ms. Bino traveled to Ghana and Burkina Faso to record the various narratives passed down generations of the transatlantic slave trade and slave raids that happened well into the first quarter of the 20th century. Excuse me. Most importantly, the stories of rescue, escapees, and those left behind to form new ethno-societies are stories rarely heard. She's extremely proud to be an alumni of the University of West Indies at Cave Hill, Barbados. She holds a BA in honors and an MA in history. And in 2018, she spent 3 weeks as a researcher at the Cape Coast Castle and Amina Castle in Ghana, and holds the honor of being the first Barbadian to give a presentation at Cape Coast Castle, the title Terror Continued, the first 73 years of enslavement in Barbados. Thank you, Natasha. Our next person that I'd like to bring on is Sister Aliyah Mahdi. Aliyah Mahdi grew up in Akron, Ohio. She is a wife to an amazing husband, R.J. Mahdi, who has taken on a leadership role in this repatriation movement, and a mother of 2 beautiful children. In her spare time, she enjoys traveling, cooking, writing, and studying holistic wellness for women. She understands the importance of keeping the Black family together for generational success. She believes wholeheartedly in the motto of family first. She holds a degree in business management, and her background experience has been in marketing and sales since 2012 for a number of Fortune 500 companies. She is the co-founder and president of the Made in Africa Project and the author of the Repat Guide. She has found joy in assisting the diaspora with connecting to the continent in a number of ways. She has used her creativity to help change the perspective of Africa in many ways, most recently in her online series, The Real Homes of Africa. Her work has been featured in many online publications, including Black Enterprise and Travel Noir, and she still has a lot more to give to this movement. She has volunteered her time in organizations like I Am Medina Bay Movement, the Give One Project, Mothers of Black Boys United, the Builders, and Stop the Violence movements, to name a few. Her philanthropic spirit continues to push to give others inspiration to improve their circumstances. And her life partner, Brother Rashad J. Mahdi, also known as RJ, has spent more than 15 years professionally working in television, radio, mass media, sports marketing, business management, project oversight, and brokering. He has actively managed national and international campaigns in Atlanta, Georgia, New York City, Miami, Florida, Memphis, Tennessee, Cleveland, Ohio, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Senegal and the Gambia of West Africa. They have been living in the Dakar, Senegal region since 2014. And next, I'd like to bring on Sister, excuse me, my little papers are moving around here. Just give me a minute. Okay, next I'd like to bring on Mama Andara Kumba and her life partner, Brother Wali Obada Akman. Let me begin by telling you a bit about Sister Andara. Born as Myrtle Primus on the small island of Curacao, Grenada, in the Eastern Caribbean islands, Mama Andara Kumba constantly felt the beat of Africa, synonymous with her own heart. It was the heartbeat that propelled her to study with the late Winston Fleury, director of the Big Drum Nation Dance, which specialized in the folk dances from Curacao. Through these dances, the heritage of our African ancestral ethnic groups who were brought to the island are acknowledged and celebrated by the people. At age 17, she began training with the International African American Ballet in 1979, where she was educated in the traditional songs and dances of the 13th century ancient Malian Empire. It was there that she met Baba Obara Wali Wakman, who would later be her spouse, director, and artistic cultural partner. Following departure from IAAB, Baba Wali formed a new folkloric dance company, Sabah Akru Afrique, SARA, which focused on dances, music, and culture from the Senegambian region of West Africa. Within the SARA Dance Company, Mama Andara would exemplify the techniques of the Sabah dance styles along with the strategies needed to accomplish them. In 1991, the senior elders, Doctors Sarah and Scuddy McGee, art therapists and psychologists, introduced both Mama Andara and Baba Wali to Mam Fatou Sek of Senegal, West Africa. Mam Sek became the grand elder of the Sabu Aruk Afrique, later known as the Drum Song Society. Under her supervision, Mama Andara and Baba Wali were initiated into the spiritual practices of traditional healing from Senegal, known as Ndep. Mam Sek, being extremely insightful, assigned her daughter, Mam Ul Mata Diop, to teach Mama Andara the songs and the dances of the Ndep. In 2003, Mama Andara began her residency at the Bedford-Stuy Restoration Corporation in Brooklyn, teaching dance techniques from the Senegambia to youth of varying ages, where she worked with students with little or no training of the Sabah. From 2001 to present, she has taught dances with the New York City public school system while working as a certified educator. Her continual promotion of the power, beauty, and strength within the African culture is the nucleus of her driving force. Mama Andara strives to honor the legacy of her late great-aunt, Dr. Pearl Primus, dancer, choreographer, and anthropologist, through her work on stage and in the community. Thank you, Mama Andara and Baba Wali. Next, I have Fatou Primus. Fatou Sek is a dancer, choreographer, and teaching artist from Brooklyn, New York. Under the instructions of her parents, Mama Andara and Baba Wali, she studied the Sabah and other Senegalese styles of music, dance, and tradition with their professional company, Sabah Akru Afrique. Since then, she's went on to study with other master teachers, including Achia Diop, Sawar Codrington, Marie Bass-Wiles, Babacar Mbe, and Sonko, as well as Mariama Basse, Kasima Diabate, Dako Soko, Lamine Thiem, and Papa Musa Sonko. She's performed with organizations from the tri-state area to Dakar, Senegal, including the Sarah, the Drum Song African Ballet Theater, the Kotef African Dance, the Baye, and Wato Sita. Her proudest accomplishments as an artist include receiving an invitation to dance with Wato Sita after having collaborated as an alum of the Restoration Dance Theater Youth Academy during BAM's Dance Africa in 2016, as well as her debut production of The Wedding in March of 2018. As a choreographer, Fatou Sek aims to preserve the storytelling tradition of Africa while merging it with contemporary nuances. Named after one of the most well-known Lebu medicine women in Senegal, Mam Aji Fatou Sek, much of her inspiration comes from the Lebu family style. Her relationship with Mam Sek's family played an integral part in her research for The Wedding, a self-directed and choreographed 75-minute performance debuted at the National Black Theater in March of 2018. Her aim as an artist is to preserve the richness of our cultural traditions and honor our connection as children of the African diaspora. Thank you so much. So those are my introductions that I'll start with. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few things that we kind of have been brainstorming and thinking about. And I'm just going to put out the questions, and whoever would like to answer, you can just, chime right in and, by giving us a hand, and we'll let you start. So for starters, I'd like the panelists to maybe speak about, 5 to 7 minutes about their work. And then if you can give us some details of your experiences in your respective African countries. So who would like to open up first? Okay, Sister Andara, thank you. We can't hear you.
Mike's not on?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Greetings and welcome, everyone, fellow panelists. Thank you so much, Dr. Ray, for the honor of being invited here. You asked for 5 to 7 minutes about our work. So our work is a fusion of art and healing at the same time. And in some places, the art helps to facilitate the healing. I'm also, as I said, educator with the New York City Public Schools, and we have a lot of our students that are in need of a lot of healing. So the combination is not hard to apply, because we have to get to the root of what is going on with the person in order to be able to help them in any case. When we are teaching dance, the dance is spirited as well. That's the foundation. That's the foundation of the dance. And the nduk is the practice of which you help to bring a person who is in need of healing to balance with that. Many things go into doing that. There is power in the dance. There's power in the dance that is, from since time began, I would say. We have been dancing as a people. And it helps to also bring up that ancestral energy, which is a power, which is a force, which is something that I continuously say that we never lost. It's just a matter of whether or not you know to apply it as such. But, that is within us. So within our work that we have done, we always keep these things in mind with the people that we work with. We work with all ages, and it doesn't have to be that you are a professional dancer in order to get the benefit of the dance and what you're doing. The healing comes from the drum, it comes from the dance, it comes from the spirit, it comes from the soul, the connection all together.
Thank you. Baba Wali, would you like to add or share anything with response to that?
Well, the greetings to everyone out there. When we look at, for instance, as a young man, I always found something very fascinating about African history, the music and the dance. And early in my life, I had the opportunity to begin to study. And through that study, I began to develop a certain type of emotional balance that just was not there before. And I said, wow, there's something very special about this. And then, so I can say that I began feeling the sense of healing from the African culture very early, intellectually as well as physically, from a very young age. And when I got through all my years of study with different African instruments and the like, I said that, I want to share not only the skills that I've learned, but that spiritual connection that I developed through learning about the culture, being exposed to the culture. And throughout my career, through the drum, through the dance, through the music, I've tried to apply those principles and use them in such a way to begin to Africanize our people here in our various communities. And our meeting and training with Mam Fatou Sek was one of the key ingredients in life for me, approaching my eldership and then going into that eldership to understand how to bring it all together and create a therapy from it. And that's kind of where we are today. And we have a very strong relationship that we're trying to grow on and improve and make it one that opens the doors for further advancement of our understanding of ourselves as an African people, whether we're here in America or any other part of the diaspora as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, would someone else like to respond to that?
Yeah, yes, Brother Damon and I will share. Give thanks to the presenters thus far. Damon and I, we have been traveling to Ghana. So we say Akwaba, welcome. We've been traveling to Ghana together since 2017. Damon actually went to Ghana by himself
1998.
in 1998. Fortunately, Damon and I went to high school together. And later on in life, you know, we reconnected and he says, you know, I'm going to Africa. I thought he was joking. We were young. I didn't think he was serious until one day he called me and he was in Africa. And he went to a trade fair. I'll never forget, because he went to a trade fair and he called me one day and he said, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back to America. And I said, no, you can't, you know, young and in love and all of that. And I said, no, you can't do this. Anyways, he ended up coming back with all kinds of goodies and hair oils and fabrics and artistry and all this wonderful stuff and telling me about this experience. And we started life together and started a family, and we were blessed by the ancestors to make the sojourn together in 2017, long after 1998. And so in 2017, we visited Ghana. We fell in love. We went back like 6 months later and we invested in 1 acre of land because we were like, no, we have to have a piece of, we have to, you know, be connected and create a home in this space. We were in love with it. And since we did that, we developed the Akoma Healing Arts. And I heard the elders earlier talk about fusing the healing and the arts. And so my background is in mental health. I actually have a practice where I am a mental health professional. And I have been doing this work around healing the hearts and minds of melanated communities through understanding of the mental health, the mind being the mothership, and how important it is to take care of the mind. But it didn't all make sense that we need to touch the motherland until I made my first journey. It shifted my entire perspective. And I understood that the Sankofa was important. And so we sat together and we thought about it and we created the Akoma Healing Arts Collective. The Akoma Healing Arts Collective is connecting the arts, literal arts. We've actually been working with the orphanages and schools in Ghana to create art and connect with artists to bring a sense of healing in the communities and togetherness, collaboration, and feeling Ubuntu, united. And so that's how the Akoma Healing Arts came to life through our travels. And we've been going back and forth twice, 3 times a year since then.
Yes, and just to further what she was saying, the work really developed from our love of African culture. Yes. And you know, being of Rastafari, I'm a Rastafarian heritage, and basically just learning about Africa, learning about the connection that we have to Africa itself, and being from Jamaica, knowing the connection that we have to Ghana, because a lot of our ancestors that came to Jamaica was coming from Ghana. So we both trace back our ancestors to Ghana and to Nigeria. So just having that connection, when I went there in 1998, I felt this unusual connection to this space, to this country, to this land. And in being there, I was like, I'm not coming back. There was nothing for me. I'm not coming back. I'm like, I'm not coming back. She was like, no, you got to come back. I'm not coming back. I end up coming back, right? And just being here in America and realizing that being here is like almost, it doesn't fit who we are, right? The connection that I felt literally when I touched the continent and touched the ground in Ghana, I felt that spiritual connection. And I never felt that anywhere else. Even when I go to Jamaica, where my parents are from, or all that, I never felt that connection as I did when I went to Ghana. It's just like when you watch the movie where Avatar, where the guy they plug in the tail and they plug it into that system, and when they plug in, it's like, oh, this unusual connection onto the earth, into that frequency. That's what I felt. And then in doing that and traveling back and forth from that time, we developed our tour. We took travelers over. We invested in land. We bought our land to build our home, to return home. And in bringing travelers, everybody was like, oh, tell us how to get land. We want to go. We want to build our house. We want to do this. So we partnered with our contractor that was building our house. We came into a partnership with him, and then we went and we bought 7 acres of land.
Yeah.
So we bought 7 acres of land in New Ningo, Pram, and now we're starting that whole development of Sankofa Garden Estates. And we're trying to bridge the gap to give melanated people in the diaspora who wants to return home the ease and the comfort into finding their way home without the worries that it comes with. Because, you know, buying land is tedious, especially when you're into a foreign country, not knowing how to navigate through that experience and navigate through the paperwork and through the process. We basically went and did all the groundwork ourselves, make sure that our land is free and clear from any land issues. We make sure that, you know, we have everybody paperwork ready. So when you get your plot, you have your title, you have your documentation in gear. And because we invested into a construction company, we are able to build your house for you. So we're basically a one-stop shop in your repatriation needs, because we also connect with people in Ghana that could also help with people who want to return home to get their paperwork, their documentations for dual citizenship, on the path to citizenship. We're working with them and to aid people in that process as well. So basically, that's why we created this whole collective, so we could be that repatriation agent that people would need in then transitioning going home. So basically, that's our mission and that's our purpose.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask the Mahdi's to comment now, particularly since they too apparently went to Africa and said they weren't coming back home either. So I want to kind of dovetail after Brother Damon's comment about being there and not coming back. So the Mahdi's, please.
Peace, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So yes, we relocated to Senegal, West Africa in 2014. Actually on the advice of my husband. So he had been here before, prior to as a teenager to study. His mother sent him here, and he had knowledge about Senegal and the community that was here already, that he had introduced me to. And from there, we kind of bounced around the states quite a bit, as you heard earlier. So we worked in a lot of different cities, and we kind of just wanted something different. So we wanted to be able to offer something different and bring our children up in a better environment and community. So we did the relocation. We came here in 2014. We've been here pretty much ever since. RJ and I have been working on a number of different projects. He actually started a media campaign that he started in, was it 2015? The I Am Dignified project, which is a project that I was working with him on as well. But in that project, it was like the first English-speaking media project to come out of Senegal. So there was literally like no media or really information about the country at all. So over these past years, he's really just been working to relay a lot of information from here on the continent, changing the perspective and how people view the continent, helping people invest and relocate to the continent. And now we're working on the Al Cape City project to help African Americans relocate back to Senegal within a repatriate city, so a 600 hectare city here right outside of Dakar.
Okay, thank you. Brother RJ?
So thanks for having us. Like Aaliyah said, our focus right now is just providing the full economic, sustainable support for those who are returning. And so through what we know now is called the Exodus Alliance, our partnership with several organizations, including the State of the African Diaspora, the UNIACL, and others, were working together to assist members of the diaspora to be able to relocate, to continue to educate those around the world about the opportunities and options that exist here, to be able to not just show them, but to also be able to facilitate, which is a huge thing in relocating. Anybody who's been to the continent understands that there are difficulties in adjusting, especially for those of us who've never been. And so for those of us that are here and are actually living and doing business here and thriving, we see it as a responsibility to reach back and allow those behind us to have a little better road than we did, a little easier than we did. I'm sure my brother and sister who are just saying they've been in Ghana all these years, I'm sure they can attest to all of the challenges that we face as new repats on the ground, and those things start to get easier as time goes on. But it also gets easier for those who come behind us. So we've taken on that responsibility here. And as an ambassador for the State of the African Diaspora, or the sixth region, we've taken on the added responsibility of also being a diplomatic representation for members of the diaspora here, being the voice of our people here, because we are, new, right? We're new to the environment, and we need that kind of support and representation. So our city project is about 1,200 acres, and on that land, we're building a full-scale city for us to return to. Everything that we need, including education, economic support, manufacturing, tourism, museums, and amusement parks, and all the things that we enjoy, but in an environment that we build for ourselves. And so that's our main focus right now, is just creating that soft landing for our brothers and sisters to come on home.
Thank you so much, Brother RJ. I'd like to jump over to Sister Natasha, if I may.
Thank you. Thank you first and foremost for having me. And thank you for allowing me such a forum to happen. Unfortunately, I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues, so bear with me if I get stuck. For me, my love affair with Africa really started probably when I was 13 years old in junior high school. And I realized the lack of African history in junior high school up until high school. Even through college at Long Island University, I had fought for many more Afrocentric courses to be taught so we can learn more about the continent. It wasn't until I've gotten older and I graduated from University of West Indies, both with degrees in history, that I would say the latter part of my years, my love for Africa was reunited. Not only on a personal level, but also from a research standpoint. So in 2018, I decided, look, I'm going home. I'll be very honest with you, I was scared, even though I had a syndicated radio show that broadcasted it in Zimbabwe. It was Gambia, Uganda, Ghana, a good number, about eight African countries. I was too scared to go. And I said, that's it, 2018, I'm going. And I fell in love, absolutely fell in love. And from there when I came back home in 2019, me and Dr. Scott, we decided to put together a research institute and cultural exchange institute that will focus on Africa and the diaspora. As a researcher in the field in Africa, I've realized that there are not enough scholarship for me personally, from the Afrocentric voice, from the African voice. So as part of our mission, CIER, the African Diaspora Institute of Cultural Exchange and Historical Research, Inc., we are focused on creating cultural exchange programs for people within diaspora. When I said diaspora, I mean the Caribbean, US, Europe as well. As well as to create or be a part of different historical research that can also bring about new light or might shed new light to new evidences as well. On top of that, I'm also an adjunct lecturer at University of Gambia. And so I want to say hello to my students, but my outreach in Africa as well has
You're freezing up a bit, sis. if you're able to do a wire connect as opposed to Wi-Fi, that may help. Okay, we're going to come back to you then, okay? Fatou Sek, we'd like to hear from you, please.
Hello, everyone. As my big cousin just introduced me, my name is Fatou Sek. I am Mama Ndar and Baba Wali's daughter. I am a dancer, choreographer, teacher, and I think my first, I guess, connection with Africa is my name. As well as, my blood. Obviously, I'm Black. We Black people, we started in Africa. So I'm named after Mam Fatou Sek, who is a very important Lebu medicine woman. And just by being named after her, when you are named after someone in the Senegalese culture, it's like you are a part of the family, and it's like a godparent connection. And I've had that connection to her, to the family, and that is kind of what gave me it helped to open a lot of doors for me, not just in my dance career, but as well as just being able to visit Senegal, being able to be welcomed into many different circles. As Dr. Ray mentioned, I was invited to dance with Wato Sita, which is the ballet of Bob Musa Sonko, who is now the director, I believe, of the National Ballet. So that was really, I don't know, that was an honor for me, because I was able to take the training that I got from my parents, as well as many other amazing artists here in New York, and I was able to just kind of perform at the same level as some of these amazing artists in Senegal. But my experience in Senegal, I decided to stay in Senegal for a year, which ended up being more like a year and a half, in 2019, which was actually my fourth trip. But I ended up staying for a year and a half because I was working with a program called Sunu Chosan, headed by Mam Diarra Diop. And Sunu Chosan is a program that works with the youth of Senegal and provides arts education, which is not something that the culture is familiar with. Just the concept of like extracurricular activities, and especially something as not frivolous to me, but frivolous to other people as arts. Just giving that a chance to give the children some wider options, because Senegal is known so much for what they contribute to art, whether it's dance, whether it's visual arts, whether it's clothes. Everything is done with a sense of art, with a sense of science to, the beauty. So I began working with them, teaching students who didn't necessarily have access to their own culture, their own traditions. For whatever reason, maybe their household was not interested in cultural traditional things like dance. Not every household finds those things important. So that was one of the things that I did in Senegal. as well as focusing on arts education. I ended up spending a lot of time with my namesake's family, and it really impacted me in a way that made me want to learn more about um, the medicine tradition, because the dance is nothing without the spirit, and it's nothing without um, that relationship between spirit, movement, and music, and they all go hand in hand. And so basically what I'm working on now is just trying to be a messenger of that, and just trying to connect people to these small aspects that kind of get lost when we talk about performance, and when we talk about just being, I guess, professional, because it is important to be professional, but it's also important to know where it starts from, and to know what it is you're performing, what it is you are teaching or sharing. So
Thank you. Thank you, Fatuset.
you're
Okay. I think we've heard from everyone now. Did someone else, Dara, did you want to say something else? I can't, I'm sorry, you're muted.
Muted? Really?
Yeah. Okay, now you're not. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to apologize for so much of the difficulty of pronunciation. So the island I'm from is Karaku. There is an island, Curacao. That's a different
okay.
island. Yeah. And
Thank you.
Right, is known for the big drum specifically.
Okay. Thank you for that. I didn't realize that. I appreciate it. Okay. So I wanted to let our audience that's listening know that feel free, if you have comments or questions, to put them in the chat, and we'll address them as we can. You can put them in, because it may be on your mind when the speakers are saying something. That way we'll have a record of it, and we'll be filtering and going through questions and comments. So thank you for your audience participation and your attendance. So the other question I want to talk a little bit is about work options and housing options. That always comes up. I was talking to somebody about going to live in Africa, and they said, "Oh, I can't go there. You need a lot of money to go over there." So my comment was, "Well, you need a lot of money to live in the United States." So I was wondering if any of our guests today could speak a little bit to, what options exist around housing that you've experienced, as well as, work. Do you create your own work? Are there jobs? What would someone look to do if they were coming over? What are your thoughts on that?
What I always tell people in our consulting is just that number one, every kind of standard or environment that you may be looking for is essentially available. It really ranges. They have everything that we're used to, and then you have the anti what we're used to, right? It's all available within an arm's reach. What we like to do is to just focus on people being able to be honest with themselves about what they're looking for, right? Are you looking for the rural life? Are you looking for the urban life? Are you looking for the beach vacation type lifestyle? Are you looking to be somewhere where you can dig in and develop? And so that would narrow it down. But essentially, here in Senegal, you've got apartments, starting as low as a few $100s, but going up to several $1,000s a month if that's what you want. There's a lot of development happening right now, particularly here in West Africa. The trajectory of development is literally amazing. Every time we go outside, we see something different that we didn't see before. Everywhere you go in this country, there's something being developed everywhere you go. Neighborhoods, cities, universities, stadiums, airports, highways, These things are being built at an amazing speed right now on the continent. And so what we see is an explosion in not just, the development of infrastructure, but also the development of housing, right? So now tons of new options are becoming available, bright, shiny condos overlooking the coastline, small, affordable villas, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And everything in between. So I think what we have to understand, those of us who haven't been to the continent, is really kind of take the understanding that everything's available. It just takes for you to kind of identify your budget, your standard of living, the environment you'd like to be in, narrow down those types of things, and you'll find your perfect spot.
Thank you, Brother RJ.
Yeah, I like to add to what Brother RJ is saying, because basically what he's speaking on is basically what's going on in my experience on the west coast of Africa, for real, right? Because in Ghana, it's basically the same thing. Ghana is like one big construction site right now. Everywhere you go, it's one big construction site. And I've been in construction. I'm a construction project manager. I've been in construction for over 25 years. I've been in schools, hospitals, stadiums, residential communities. So that's my passion. That's my forte. And being in Ghana, just seeing the development that's going on a rapid speed, it's really breathtaking to know that the first time I came to Ghana in 1998, to see where Ghana is right now, it made amazing strides, right? And you could have, just like the brother saying, your range depends on what you see for yourself and your lifestyle and how you want to live, and your budget, right? And when you look at it, you have housing from 30,000 to the millions. So it's really how you see yourself living and how you want to live your life there. And everything that you want, all the amenities. You want AC, hot water, you want anything cool in your house, hot tub, sauna, whatever you want, it's up to you. It's what you could afford and how you see yourself living. The beautiful thing about it is that Ghana, based on the exchange rate, your dollars go a little bit farther away than normal. So you could afford, if you're a retiree and you collect your retirement, or you have a 401k, you want to build your house, you have a transportation, and you go there, and you own your house and you have your transportation, then you could live off of your 401k, you could live off of your retirement funds, depending on how you see your lifestyle, right? And for those who would like in their younger age would like to return home and build a life, there's a seat waiting for you at the table.
Right.
You don't have to fight for a seat. You just have to see in your mind's eye what you want to achieve and what you like to contribute to the continent, no matter where you go on the continent. And basically, once you do your research, the options is open.
Yeah, I want to share also a realistic experience, because we were just there for over a month and we needed to rent a space. And literally, I'm a part of a group of people, extended family and different groups and I just put out an all call. I'm looking for a 2-bedroom apartment or home. And literally in one day, I was able to find, I didn't have to go through the rigmarole of a credit check or cash is king.
Yes.
They told me they needed $75 a day. And I did the math and we were able to pay them and negotiate something even lower and have housing for over a month there. As long as you have the cash to give them, cash is king. And so I just wanted to share that, because a lot of people are like, oh, here in America, you have to do a credit check or you have to go through a process and then you have to, no, you got to have the money. You got to have the money. And so, cash is king. And as far as work, I think Dr. Ray mentioned working, you can do whatever, like Brother Damon just said, whatever you want to bring, you can do it, because it's like an open market. And it's not saturated. What I've been seeing is like, you can come if you want to come, whatever your idea is, you can bring it. Another thing that I admire and love is that there's this idea of a Black-owned business is obsolete. So if you have a business, it's going to be supported by your community. People are going to, where I live, you'll see a Black-owned business and 6 months later, it's down in Florida. Because what? The community is not buying Black. They're not supporting that business. When you go to Africa, if you have what they need even if you sell coconuts, you will make your money.
And everybody's an entrepreneur. The people on the street corners selling, the people that are running up to the car that's selling, they're all entrepreneurs. So there's an entrepreneurial spirit that's there. So once you have that same entrepreneurial spirit, you could go there and find your niche. There's a lot of niche markets on the continent as a whole. In Ghana in particular, you have manufacturing sector, you have agricultural sector. So there's vast opportunities. You know, people sending their factories over to China to develop their stuff. You could come and open up your own factory in Ghana. Right. So you have all these abilities to do all these great things. But like she said, cash is king.
Cash is king.
You really have to make the connections. And once you make the connections, you definitely have unlimited access to what you want to do.
You do. Yes. So.
Great.
For the Marty family, guys.
Aspect what we're talking about is so important because so many people who have not been to Africa, who don't have the direct connection, when they hear Africa, they have no idea. They're thinking they're just seeing little huts like they may see from the movies, and it's like, okay, where am I going to live? And it's important to know that you have such a diversity there, and that the range may even be more diverse than here in America, and that it is possible. So I think it's very important conversation that needs to be had with so many. I speak to students and some of them in particular neighborhoods, they hear Africa and they want to run because they think it's beneath them. What do I need from Africa? What's good in Africa? And you have to give them the whole education about it. So I think it's very important conversation.
Right. Exposure is so important to dispel the myths that so many people have. I want to talk a little bit about cultural heritage linkages. So for me, that would be what we call glamours, galleries, libraries, archives, museums, and repositories. What can you guys tell us if us researchers are interested in connecting with those sorts of institutions? What might be available in your respective countries?
Well, here in Dakar, about 2 years ago, they inaugurated the Black Civilizations Museum here downtown Dakar. Giant exhibit that goes back as far as 40,000+ years ago with the emergence from Africa. And it details a lot of the steps that Black people have taken coming outside of the continent around the world. And it's a really good exhibit. I was actually just there the other day with the guests we have in town. They've got exhibits about a lot of the spiritual communities, the different kings and chiefs and tribes. And so that's a really great exhibit. In addition to that, here in Dakar, we have the African Renaissance Monument, which is the famous monument of the black man, woman, and child standing up over the Atlantic Ocean with the arms outstretched. That monument inside also has a 4-story museum as well. So once you climb the steps up to the monument, you can actually go inside of it. And there are exhibits about a lot of the Pan-African heroes. You'll see even a lot of our African-American heroes are mentioned on there. People like Angela Davis and Marcus Garvey, and even they've got an exhibit about Barack Obama and Martin Luther King. But in addition to that, there's a ton of other cultural and traditional information shared inside of that museum as well. So Senegal is a huge historic place, especially being the westernmost tip of Africa. Also Gorée Island, which is the location of the door of no return, or the slave castles, is here in Dakar as well. So with some 27 million African people being, exported through this particular door of the continent, there's a lot of historical locations and information to be found here as well.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to respond to that?
I would say, for me as a researcher, I find, especially with Ghana, when they come to the archives, I'm actually quite disappointed because when you go to the archives, you find that there are a lot of them, especially in the rural area, are in a disarray. You actually walk into the buildings and see the records actually on the floor. But I find the greatest greatest knowledge you can get is from the people themselves. It's from the griots, it's from the kings, and it's from the queen mothers, even the elders who are, who are of different kingdoms and villages. So for me, I love doing research in Ghana, especially West Africa. And now that my outreach has expanded to now Mali, and hello to Abba, who's been following. He's all the way from Timbuktu, and I've also I've reached out to Niger, just speaking to the different griots. You'll be surprised how much they really want to reconnect with, the diaspora, as well as give their knowledge about the history that has been passed down to them. So in terms of repositories and in terms of the cultural linkages, so Barbados too, for example, Barbados has a number of initiatives where they are actually engaging a number of African countries to reestablish that link. And I know we've opened up to I think an embassy in Kenya and a diplomatic office in Ghana as well. And the activities and initiatives that they are doing is just very powerful. So it's there. You just have to go. One of the things I've realized amongst the diaspora, not just Barbadians in particular, because I represent New York, Barbados, and Ghana in a way, is that there's this fear. My friends are like, "Oh, you sure?" I keep telling them I've been fearful for decades, and I'm happy I made the leap and I went, because now I can't get enough. It's just a matter of time for me actually moving to Ghana and for our Africa. Period. I don't know which part of Africa I want to move to, whether it's going to be Gambia, Mali, or Ghana. But you have to get over that fear. You just have to listen to the voices of the people, of the African people, and hear their side of the story.
Nice. Thank you, Natasha. I also wanted to say that Barbados also now has a direct flight from Barbados to Ghana as well. So that's a good thing. And also when you go to the campus, they have all those wonderful buildings that are, in the architect of Ghanaian architects. So
the golden stool, yes.
Right, exactly. So that's really nice. I want to welcome Professor James Smalls. He's joined us. He had a commitment that took him away for a moment, but he's here. So I do want to acknowledge Baba James Smalls, and I want to tell you a little bit about him. So Professor Smalls is a scholar activist, a dynamic speaker, and an organizational consultant. He's the CEO of the Sana Large Enterprise in Ghana. He also is the CEO and president of an African-American management company. He serves also as the international vice president of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. He's a priest of Oya, Baba Larisha, Ifa tradition, and past president of the Eastern region of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. He's been an activist since his teenage years, and he's studied extensively with Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yosef A. Ben Johanan, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Asa Hillard, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Amos Wilson, and Dr. Francis Quest Welsing, to name just a few. For 11 years, he served as a principal bodyguard to the late Ella Collins, the sister of Malcolm X. And he also was involved and was an imam of the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, which was founded by Malcolm X. Between 1966 and 1980, he had a membership in the SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the NAACP. During this period, he had the opportunity to interact with such historical giants as Congressman Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Kwame Ture, H. Rap Brown of the SNCC movement, Eldridge Cleaver, Zayed Shakur, and Lumumba Shakur of the Black Panther Party, in which he served as a liaison between the Panther Party and the OAAU. Much of his expertise is found in African American history and culture, Malcolm X, African traditional religions, and the love for his people. He taught for 15 years at City University, and out of that 13 years, he was in the Black Studies Department, where he taught Pan-Africanism, Malcolm X, and comparative African religions, which included several African spiritual systems titled African Religion and Survival, and 2 years at the New York City Technical College teaching the course African Folklore and Religion. He's traveled extensively, lecturing at churches, conventions, seminars, workshops, colleges, and universities throughout the US, the Caribbean, Africa, and Europe. He's currently conducting online courses on African spirituality, covering the Yoruba Ifa tradition, the Akan spiritual system, Voodoo, Vodun, and ancient Egyptian sacred science. He is also leading educational and cultural pilgrimage tours throughout Africa, Haiti, and the US. He holds a BA degree from the City College of New York and a Doctorate of Divinity from the Amun-Ra Theological Seminary, Los Angeles, California. And I also have to tell you that he is also a Gullah Geechee man originating out of South Carolina. Welcome, Brother Small.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ramona. And tell them I'm also your cousin. So,
yes. We have some family members here. I haven't got to that yet, but thank you.
Sorry, I'm a bit late, but I'm going to be doing knee surgery, and this review with the surgeon went an hour longer than any of us planned. You know.
No problem. We're just happy that you're here. So what we've been talking about is basically people have been, hold on, I'm sorry. I have an announcement. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Just give me a moment. Okay, thank you. So what we've been talking about is we've asked people to talk a little bit about their experience in their respective African country. Also, what kind of work, entrepreneurial, housing options exist. So if you could tell us a little bit about, what you've been doing in Ghana, we'd love that. Thank you.
Well, again, good afternoon, Hotep brothers and sisters. I guess I've been doing tours to Africa for about 40 years. Cultural Heritage African Tours is the name of our company. My partner is Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Sister Leah Williams. And we partner with African Dreamer Tours, Sister Sharifa here in New York. But me and my partners also established a hotel there. It's called the Sana Lodge. And it's managed by one of our companies, the African American Management Company, Ghana Limited. I'm one of the persons who is the founder of Panifest, and also in the vanguard founding of Emancipation Day in Ghana. So it's just what I've been doing over the years is introducing people, and I'm very pleased with a lot of my students who have moved to Ghana or opened business in Ghana or opened business in Uganda. I've traveled Uganda, Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, of course, Egypt, Senegal, Togo, Benin, just trying to do the linkages, introducing our people to the history, introducing them to culture. My sister, I think from Barbados, was talking about the beauty of going into the rural areas and into the villages and being among the people who are still practicing tradition on a daily basis. Well, they're not practicing, they're living their tradition on a daily basis. Meeting with many of the griots, I was trained by some very strong priests and priestesses in both Nigeria and in Ghana and Togo. So my thing is about linkages. How do we make these linkages? Introducing the young people there, getting them to look at opportunities that will allow them to move to Africa, invest in Africa, open businesses in Africa, work at hospitals, teach at universities. And we do volunteer things. We have about 5 schools that we supply different types of supplies, from books to computers. We have 2 medical facilities that we do the same supply, medical supplies to, and we try to take as much of it to as many of the villages as we can. So that's basically our involvement in our history, consider myself to be both a nationalist and a Pan-Africanist, but there's not a contradiction in that. I believe the African world must unite if we're going to realize true liberation. And that means the Caribbean, the North Americans, the continentals. And we're doing it. It's actually happening as we talk. And many of us, I see here, have been a part of that process. So that's kind of what we do. Our hotel right now is closed because of the COVID. And I was trying to get over there to really do some work, but my knee has spoken. Fix me first, so you're not going anywhere. So I'm trying to get it fixed so I can move back into the continent, where I sometimes spend 4 to 5 months a year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we also asked about cultural heritage linkages, galleries, libraries, archives, museums.
Right.
Repositories. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Every country we visit, we make sure that we visit as many museums as possible. And we always make sure we visit the university campuses in every country we go to, and try to make sure we have the experts to do the lecture on the artifacts that's in the museum, so that people can see that we're not as separate and separated from Africa as we were made to think. Because when you hear about the ideas and the principles, and you hear about the domestic institutions that were established, you hear about the rites of passage programs, we brought many of those things to the West with us. We hid them in the churches. That's the largest hiding place for our culture in the Western Hemisphere. But we've kind of lost the fact that we've done that. But traveling to Africa allows you to see what you already have in the Caribbean that's still very African, what you have in America that's still very African. But if you don't travel to Africa and have that experience, you won't even recognize the African thing you do. I'll take a simple thing. When I first went to Africa and I was served jollof rice, and it was such a fantastic thing. So I'm telling my mother about jollof rice when I come back home. She said, "Oh yeah, we call it red rice." She said, "We didn't have no palm oil, so we used tomato." She said, "That's what her mother told her." So we don't even know we're eating African food. We're still cooking African foods using what we found in this hemisphere to compensate for the things we no longer had in that hemisphere. So the kind of peppers we could get at home, we couldn't get them here. So we mixed different kinds of pepper to get the hot pepper we wanted to put in our foods and our dishes. My papa used to make nets. We call the small ones cast nets, where they put one piece in your mouth and you sling it and it opens out like an umbrella and you pull it in. And he had this beautiful little needle and he taught us how to make nets. The first thing I saw when I arrived in Ghana for the first time in '83, a man sewing the nets with the same needle my grandfather used to sew the nets. And you went by the shore and you see them fishing, pulling in the net. We did the same thing. We call it seining. You drove up with the nets and my brothers and them would empty it out and you made the big U and everybody in the community pulled. And we all shared the fish. Because we don't even know, we didn't leave it, we took it in our minds. And we reinterpreted based on the environments we found ourselves in. And even the way families are organized and the kind of bonding in the household. I grew up in a village on a plantation in the Galavichi woods of South Carolina. Everybody carried stuff on their heads. It was just a normal thing to do. Now, I'm talking about big stuff. And when I got to Africa and I see everybody doing it, I go like, that's what we did. Because we never left it at home. And so you see all of these linkages, all of these things. Down south, we call everybody cuz, right? So you didn't have to be a blood relation, but you were cousin this, cousin that. And we call all of the older women aunties. And we call all the older men uncles. And when I got to Africa, they do the same thing. But you don't even know that you're doing the same thing until you go and see the real thing. then you realize, oh my God, we do that in Barbados, we do this in Jamaica, we do this in Haiti, we do this in South Carolina, we do this in Mississippi, because we brought so much of Africa with us. And when you go through the museums and you go through the libraries and you go to the village and see the village architect, first note, you look at one of these mud houses with the thatched roofs and you go like, wow, they're living like really poor. But when somebody explained how the opening on the roof circulate the cool air, and you walk into that out of 90 degrees, and you walk in there and it's like 50 degrees. So somebody had an architectural understanding on how to build a facility that would keep them cool in all of that heat. And you just begin to realize that Africa is in the African wherever the African is. And by traveling and studying and researching with brothers and sisters at home, you begin to see how much retention we have that we have not developed because we didn't know those things was African retention.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience for you, Brother Small. Sister Chenault Small, coming in from Charleston, she would like to know, was the net needle a cow or an other animal bone?
Yes. She's from Charleston. That's my other half of my home. Probably family too, with that name Small.
Yeah.
And the small of South Carolina and Charleston is hooked up with the small of Barbados. So we got a heavy linkage with Barbados coming into Charleston and Georgetown. Yes, it was made out of bone, and it looked like a almost like an obelisk with a third piece in the middle. And you'd loop that little bow around that piece and you'd pull it through. I probably still remember to do it, if I got the chance.
Good. I want to remind our audience participants, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll do our best to address them. I wanted to talk a little bit about this whole COVID issue and health updates. What's going on in the motherland related to COVID presently? Anyone can answer.
Well, yes. Well, we recently traveled to Ghana. We was there with our whole family for over a month, and we traveled during the COVID season. And basically, to me, my own personal humble opinion, they handling it way better than it is being handled over here in the States. I mean, if you think about it, Africa's always have some type of pandemic situation going on, from SARS to this, to that, to the other, to Ebola. So I think they're more prepared, right? They have hand washing stations, they have mask mandates that they do. And to be honest with you, how they screen everybody coming in, I think they do a lot of take very good precautionary measures to keep the population safe. And if you look at their numbers are very low in terms of COVID cases that they have. And what I noticed when the president makes the address to the nation about their COVID cases, they don't dwell on the deaths. They dwell on the recoveries of how many people recovered the COVID cases. Here, when we hear about it here in the news, they're always promoting how many people die, like almost fear based. You know what I mean? They fear mongering the people to think about that. At least in Ghana, they speak about how many people recovered from COVID and how to maintain a healthy lifestyle, eat healthy foods, drink your water. They implement certain measures to make people feel more comfortable in dealing with these situations. And just our experience being here in the States is more fear than ever. Everybody's walking around terrified about going out. And to me, they promote a more health aspect in terms of how to wash your hands, how to eat foods that's going to build your immune system, from that aspect, from a more holistic aspect. So to me, I think for us traveling to Ghana, it's been a better experience. We've been there and we never had no issues.
We have none. There was the elder who said it's the sun in the sea.
and the ginger and the hot peppers and from the jollof rice.
That's what he said is the answer.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak about the health piece?
Well, I'm always in contact with my researchers and my team in Africa and different parts, and even my friends on a daily basis. And I find that no one knows anybody who's ever been affected by COVID. It's, for me here in New York or even Barbados, I can see, yes, I can speak to my neighbor next door. She's been affected, or who, everyone around me has been affected, whether it's New York, California, the different parts of America and in Canada. But for some reason, when I speak to even my fans, because I have a radio show in Uganda, Ghana, and Nigeria weekly, and I ask them, what is your experience? And they're like, Natasha, or they call me Lady Envy. Envy. Half of them don't believe in it because they have no experience with it. They have no experience with friends and family members dying or are coming down sick with COVID. So I'm not on the ground, so I don't know. But when I see the pictures of my friends and my fans in Africa, they have hardly any mask on. They're all out partying, having a good time. I'm like, how? And I just don't. I really don't know what's going on, but it just seems that they're handling it really, 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 really well. I do see some people with masks, but a lot of times I don't see people with masks. When I go out, I'm having the gloves, the mask. I look, I'm preparing and myself and my mother, my grandmother. But for some reason, the people in continent, when I speak to them, it's a different story.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the other piece, remember, they're a healthier population than we are. We eat junk. Even when we're trying to eat good, you go to Whole Foods, you get junk. These are people eating food coming out of the ground. And you know that leaf that they chew for malaria? The trees are everywhere. And people just take them. My nana told me, said, I steam every morning just to clear out my sinuses and stuff. Like it's just normal. You're eating healthy. People like to make us think with all of these raising money, what do you call it, money on TV, that we're the most sickest people on planet Earth in Africa. They're the healthiest people in the world, just from their normal diet. Where you see the bad health is in the urban cities where they're emulating in terms of their food us. But most people still live in the rural areas, in the villages. They're eating their food. They can go to a tree, they're feeling a little feverish. They go to a tree and pick a leaf and start chewing and think no more about it, And so, like my brother and sister was saying in Ghana, they don't raise the negative. They project the positive. How many people have recovered? You look at the death toll in Africa, the whole continent death toll is lower than New York City or Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? The whole continent. In the beginning, they said we were going to get wiped out. Well, just the opposite occurred because of the factors of eating good, being in general good health, having all the herbs that you use generally in your society that you're taking, the kind of peppers and ginger and peppers, so normal. Over here in America, people suddenly discovered ginger when the COVID came. You know what I'm saying? They discovered hot pepper when COVID came. This is what people do over there every day.
Right. Thank you. We have a question from Auntie Akua Wright. She wants to know, are vaccines mandatory for entry into any African countries?
All right, so I could speak on that. So for us traveling to Ghana, there's no vaccine that's required in terms of COVID, other than the standard yellow fever vaccination. If you choose to get it, you could opt out if you want to, which we chose to do with our children. But you do have to take a COVID test 72 hours prior to leaving to go to Ghana. And then you also have to take a test when you arrive in the airport. Right, and then when you are returning to the States, you also have to take another COVID test to enter back into the United States. So those are their COVID protocols. So far, no mandatory vaccines needed in Ghana for COVID.
And do you have to pay for those tests?
Yes, the one when you have to prepay for the test in Ghana is $150 US dollars. You have to pay for the test prior, print out your receipt. So when you get to the airport, you show your receipt there, and then you could go ahead and take the test. If you didn't do it, then you could also pay it at the airport when you arrive. And then there's a fee to take. There's a at the airport they also have a COVID testing site at the airport where you pay up, depending on the time frame of the test. There's different prices. You could pay up to 300, 400, or 500 Ghana cedis, depending on the time frame. If you want to test within 12 to 24 hours, 12 to 6 hours, there's a different fee for those tests. So those are the only costs that's incurred upon people that's traveling to Ghana.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Any other places that people have had experience traveling up to other countries? Okay.
But I'm sorry, I just want to backtrack to the last question really quickly. And I just want to also add to what Professor James Small says. I remember being on the road with my research team in Ghana and Burkina Faso, and every day, sometimes twice a day, I would hear my research team, who were from Ghana, do this sound. And they call it scrubbing the lungs. And it's the most horrific, but healthiest thing they could do is like they bring up all of whatever muck might be. It's like they reach down deep and they just pull whatever mucus might be in their body. And they do it sometimes twice a day, and sometimes they do it a day. And they're not doing it because of COVID. They're doing this as part of their daily routine. And I think this could also be another reason why they've been able to keep the numbers low, because they're able to get that mucus out of their body by literally forcing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying they force it out by what? Coughing it up, or what is it? They take something
we
to
call it
assist?
hawking.
But they take a toothbrush and they stick it down the back of their throat, and it's almost the action of like throwing up. And they're bringing up all of the mucus and water, whatever might be on the chest. They bring it all up, and they do it for like a good 10, 15 minutes a day.
That's interesting, because we know that the underlying fault of most disease is inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So,
and I find my Nigerian friends also do this, so it's just not indicative to Ghana. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So I want to take a moment to, we have a link for a survey. So for our guests, if you would fill out our survey, we would really like that. And I also want to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors. First of all, the Friends of the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. They support our programs, and we have a membership available. If anybody's interested, that link will be put back up again. We also have, excuse me, the Acoma Healing group as one of our sponsors. That's our couple. They are our beautiful couple. Thank you. And then we have Drum Song Society. That would be Baba Wali and his beautiful queen. And then, of course, I want to give a shout out once again to the Sana Lodge in Ghana. And as soon as they open back up, we have a place that has plenty of rooms available in Ghana with Brother Small. And then I also want to give a shout out for, again, Sister Natasha's organization. And Natasha, can you help me with that again? It's the Cultural Exchange and Historical Research.
Well, it's the African Diaspora Institute of Cultural Exchange and Historical Research, but we call it CER for short, CE-HR.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I also want to give a shout out to our young and illustrious dancer, Fatu Sek, who's been doing some amazing things with dance and her art internationally, both on the continent as well as in the United States. And wow, people are doing some amazing things. And this has been a great dream of mine to like get together all my extended family and friends that love Mother Africa, and that we could have this time to connect and so forth. Looks like, is this a comment or a question? I'm welcoming my friend out of New York, Sister BB DuPont, and she says she's enjoying the conversations and learning more. After doing DNA tests, she found Ghanaian family, Kwashi and Mensah. And we have a brother who has a Mensa name in his, and I spoke to him just yesterday. He's out of the Benin area, and I think he's still on as well. And he's doing some interesting work with digital humanities, virtual reality, augmented reality, these new hybrid technologies that are now being used in the motherland. He explained to me yesterday that they're marketing toilets for villages and places that don't have toilets. They're marketing with virtual reality headsets so people can see the importance of hygiene in toilets. So that was an interesting perspective. And then it's being used for education as well. So we have some virtual reality experience here at the library. We had a traveling exhibit, the Harlem Renaissance, and we took it throughout the state. We got a wonderful grant to take it to all these museums and cultural heritage institutions to let people put on a headset and go into the virtual world of the Harlem Renaissance during the 20s and 30s. We featured the Floridian folks, James Weldon Johnson and his brother, who penned the famous Negro national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Also, Augusta Savage, who was a sculptor from outside of Jacksonville called Green Cove, Florida. She was very influential in developing an art center in New York City during the Harlem Renaissance. And an amazing sculptor. She did a large scale piece for the World's Fair back then. And then also we have, of course, Zora Neale Hurston, the famous first Black woman anthropologist, studied at Barnard College under Franz Boas, an amazing woman also from Eatonville, Florida, or outside of Orlando. And she studied language and culture, but she also did stuff internationally. She was going on wild boar hunts in Jamaica. A boar was after her. She had to run up a tree so the boar wouldn't get her. And it made me think of Cousin James. It made me think of the wild boars that used to be at the foot of the bridge when you're coming in from Arcadia over to Georgetown. When I first got there in '97, there was like an overgrowth of wild boars, and they actually hired someone to kill these wild boars because there were so many of them. They had overpopulated the area. So Zora was an amazing woman. She also did work in Haiti. She was initiated as a voodoo tradition, and she just was phenomenal. So I'm seeing some great people here. I want to welcome them, and I'll just put a text just to welcome folks. And this is amazing. We're doing this. This is a good thing. Again, I remind you, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get that, and answer them. Would any of our guests like to say anything else specific to their work? Yes, Mama Andara.
Yes. We didn't get to hear about Baba Obarawali Rahman, what work he's doing.
Okay. Okay. He's so humble over there.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Since Fatu came of age, Mom Fatu Seka told us many years ago, that when she came of age, we had to bring her to Senegal. And that when we brought her to Senegal, she was not going to want to leave. And Mom Fatu Seka is actually the one who named her a year before she was born. She told Mama Andara that she was going to have this child. It was going to be a girl, and that she should name her Fatu Sek. And so after Fatu was born, we had maintained communication with them through the years, and we were always trying to find some kind of way to get back to Senegal. I had already been, but now this was the time for us as a family to go. And so in going there, I told Mom Wooly Mata, who was our teacher, that I was getting ready to retire. And she said, "Oh no, you can't retire now. You have to do what Mom Fatusek asked you to do, which was to help to bridge the cultural gap between ourselves, African Americans, and the African people that are still on the continent. Because Mom Fatusek always spoke to us and said that we are the children who left Africa without their medicine. And so part of her mission was to help to redeliver that medicine. And this is one of the reasons why we were brought in to work with her through ancestral energy. You know, everything on the road put us back towards that function. And so out of that, we created what is called the Kumbalamba International African Arts and Cultural Exchange. And that is a pilot project that we're still working on today. It got interrupted because of COVID. But the whole idea of it is to, on a very humble basis, introduce our brothers and sisters, not only to Africa in the general sense, but one to one, family to family, people to people, artist to artist, and organization to organization. And so with that in mind, we always try to bring people with us who have that kind of interest and want to know and learn more about the whole experience, either from a spiritual perspective, educational perspective, or just a pure cultural perspective, drum and dance, or whatever. Expose them to the griots, the artisans, the geography, all of those types of things. So that's what we're working towards now. The Kumbalamba International African Arts Exchange.
Thank you so much. I invite all of our guests also, if you would like to put your contact information in the chat. If you want people to reach out to you, you can go ahead and put those in the chat as well. I also am really struck by this whole idea of healing through the arts. And it's so interesting to me that when Baba Wali and Amara Andara talked about the people that they first connected with who were psychologists or psychiatrists and art therapists, the McGee's. And it's interesting, I'm a former art therapist myself, and I remember studying with the art therapists. So to see that full circle of, you know, the interest in the arts, but then realizing that the art is a tool for us to heal, because in the motherland, everyone is an artist, everyone creates. But here in America, we have these notions that, oh, I have to be an artist in order to create. But, you know, in Africa, it's like your very existence is creativity. And I think that's why I was very struck by when I first went to Africa on my only trip, actually back in the 80s, I went to Dakar, and I was so amazed at all the creative energy that was just right there everywhere. Everybody was creating, whether it was, you know, their food or, you know, weaving, sitting in the street, weaving or whatever. It was just pretty amazing. And I think that's why it's so important that all of our people have that experience of going to the motherland. Even the Caribbean, the first time I went to Jamaica, I felt that way. I was like, wow, it's just so different from the South Bronx where I grew up, you know. Although I must admit that my relationship, my cousin Wali and his mother and my mother, they hung around with a lot of Caribbean people. And as a result, that opened up our international thirst, if you will. And it gave us that ear to be able to hear and kind of decipher where people were from and those kind of things, just based on, you know, dialect and accent and so forth. So I really thank, you know, them. I always, I want to take a moment because I always have to thank my cousin Obara Wali Rahman, because when I was a teenager, he had he was cutting albums, you know, African drumming. He was in Texas. He created this album. He had this group, this African group, and he came back, you know, after the military, and, you know, he was into eating different and back to eating, and, you know, and herbs, and it was like such an amazing honor and blessing for me to be a teenager to be exposed to that, because it was him that introduced me to the African ways, if you will, or brought me back, I'll say, because we had it every time we went to Georgetown, South Carolina, every summer and spent with our grandmother. We had those traditions, you know. So I want to publicly acknowledge and thank my cousin, because, you know, he still doesn't know sometimes, I think, how much his life really touched mine, because he was like my big brother. You know, I'm an only child, so thank you, Ali. I'm letting the world know.
Yes. Love you much. Love you
Love
much.
you too. So, yes, somebody was gonna say something. Did I hear?
I just wanted to tell Brother Waleed, you know, the first reading I had from an African priest was from Mama Futuset.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even want the reading. She was at the John Henry Clark house.
Oh, yeah, Clark, right. Yeah, go ahead.
She was given readings. I was simply there to handle her security. And I'm in another room. It was all women. And they said, Nana wants you to come in because she wants to read you. And I'm like, nah, I don't want nobody reading me.
Yeah.
I don't want no reading. And she insisted.
Yeah, that's her.
And she was so on point. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
You would think this lady had raised me up and with me.
She was.
That's how on point she was.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nobody else knew.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. You know, I had the little kind of reading from the apprentice people over the years at the different festivals, but this is the first time sitting down to a real reading. And it made me take the people who were helping me in Ghana more serious. Because I wouldn't let my mother in Ghana give me a reading. And she was cool with it. She just kept teaching me things. But now I went there and tell her, I want you to give me a reading.
Okay.
And she used water. You know, water reading is quite a different one. We don't see much of.
Right.
And her name is Nana Fuasa. She was the chief priestess of Kumasi.
Okay.
You know, and the other thing, you know, James, and you saying it, it makes me think that sometimes, you know, we think we're not ready or not interested, but the Spirit will take over and move us to let us see what we're supposed to see. And I think a good example is we were having a birthday celebration for Fela Kuti in Harlem. And Wally, you'll remember this because you were there.
Yeah.
And Brother Moshood, the designer who's in Brooklyn from Nigeria, he was dancing and, you know, and speaking Yoruba, and I got up to dance with him, and Spirit took me over, and I just kind of passed out, and my cousin Wali was there to hold me and be there for me. And that was like my first real awakening around this spirit. I mean, I guess it's the kind of spirit that people feel in church and so forth, because it definitely was in the house.
No, not the kind they feel in church. It's what we took to the church, because white churches don't feel that.
Thank you. Yeah. So, you know, having those sorts of experiences. Also, when we were in St. Helena Island in Beaufort, when Mom Sek was there, we had people from all over the world there, and we also had the Native American presence. You know, it was wonderful. Dr. Charles Finch was there. He was being initiated, and that was just an amazing experience down there in Beaufort. And the local tabloids, the newspaper was like, they're doing witchcraft over there at Penn Center, you know, but it was like, it was an amazing time. So again, that was another time that, you know, my cousin was there, and we were just like, the Spirit has brought us together one more time.
But let me tell you about retention really quick.
Sure. Take your time.
One of my cousins who I love dearly, and before I knew she was my cousin, I was deadly in love with this sister. Then the family said, no, that's your family. But we stayed in love, but we were just friends, brothers and sisters. And she would come to all of my lecture, but she developed cancer and she passed. But before she passed, I came in from Africa and they told me she was in the hospital. Her name was Francesca. So I go to see Franny, and the nurse says, there's no reason for you to go in. She won't recognize you. She won't understand anything. She can't hear anything. I said, I want to go in there and sit with her anyway.
Right.
Mhm.
This blew my mind and really turned a lot of tables for me. So I went to her and I sat for a while, told her it was me and I was there. And then I whispered to her, Franny, you can leave. You don't have to stay here anymore. Just go home. And she started speaking to me. And I didn't know what she was saying, so I wrote it down and took it to my Baba Tao Ogunade. A friend who never been to Africa. She was a staunch Catholic, knew nothing about Yoruba, but she spoke to me in Yoruba saying, I am beyond this world.
Mm.
After that moment, I was just African, 3 billion%.
Yeah, I hear that.
Nothing. Imagine this child, never been to Africa. She came to all my lectures, but she was a staunch Catholic ever since we were kids. She raised up in the Catholic Church. And when they thought she was brain dead, when she heard my voice, she said to me in Yoruba, I am beyond this world. She said it 3 times. So I wrote it down because I didn't know what she was saying. So I go to Baba Tau and says, this is what my cousin was saying shortly before she passed. He said, oh, she's saying, telling you she's beyond this world. That's Yoruba, he said.
Mhm.
And I was, then I realized we are eternal. This thing we call Africa, these beings we call Africa, we are eternal. We can't die. We just shed our outer shells and we continue on. And that's what made me go deeper into the priesthood. This allocation with Franny.
Yeah.
I just want to also, I wanted to share an experience my mom had. My mom, she didn't really have the connection to Africa that like my mom, like me and my dad did. And my mom had open heart surgery back in 2012. And while during her recovery, she keeps saying every time she closed her eyes, she keeps seeing these people, these faces just passing by, and they're just smiling at her. And she just see these black faces. And I'm like, Ma, those are your ancestors coming to, to say you're going to be fine. And she took comfort. She said that every time she saw a face, it just brought her peace and comfort. And she knew that she was going to get through her heart surgery and her recovery. And she did. And to this day, she could still see those faces. And I'm like, those are your ancestors, Ma. And they were all black.
And they will come when you need them.
Yes.
They will come.
Yes, yes.
So we are kind of getting to the top of our last scheduled 15 minutes. Again, I'd like to open up to the audience for any other comments or questions. Now's a good time if you want to post something. We've had I have my contact information there for anyone wishing to get in touch with me. And we've also, some of our speakers have also put in their contact information. We do have, I think everybody's on Facebook as well, social media, because some of us are involved in a lot of different activities. I know that Sister Natasha has several radio programs internationally that she's involved with, and if you'd like to put that in the chat as well, that'd be great.
Also, if you don't mind, I would like to put the latest project I'm working on. It's called Enslaved Spaces. It's enslavedspaces.org. It looks at all of the spaces within West and Central Africa that was used during slavery, during whether it's transatlantic, trans-Saharan, and domestic slavery between 1440 and 1860.
And what does the project entail? What are you going to do with that?
So it's a map. It's a map. It actually outlines and shows you all of the different spaces that were used as slave markets, encampment places, religious and cultural spaces that captives were held at. Also European settlements, the forts, the factories, but those aren't really focused on. I'm focusing also on the markets, like where they were positioned. It also outlines possible new routes. One thing I do like about the map is the fact, like, for example, my mom, she's 65% Yoruba, my dad is Fulani, so I can look at all the Yoruba settlements between, a particular time period and say, this is the possible area that my family members were taken, and this is the possible routes, and actually have a name to the markets I can actually speak. To me, that's also very important in the healing process. That's something I learned while I was in Ghana doing my research about the slave trade. So that's what enslaved spaces is really about. It's just mapping and chronicalizing all of the different spaces used for different purposes, whether it was a slave bath, slave market, etc., all throughout West Africa.
So you're actually digitizing the map. It'll be available.
Yes, it's available now. It's available now, but it's constantly in work. Constantly working on it because I do have a team. They also teach as well, but we are constantly always working on the map, and you can see the different river routes also that we're taking. We also have places of captivity, where places were raided. So like if we know that there was a particular space that was raided often for captives, it will be on the map. We also have spaces of refuge, spaces for freedom, the sacred forest, various places that people hid, even the different societies that were created because of the different slave rights. All this is all in this map.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to ask too, and I think the Mahdi's, I'm not sure if they lost their connection or they had to leave, but I wanted to ask, what about the language barrier? Has that been an issue going to the Francophone countries? I mean, do you guys speak French? Do you speak Wolof? How have you, been able to negotiate the areas where there are different languages?
Well, for me, I speak French. I'm relearning French now because I really didn't have anyone to speak it with, but I can more or less write it and I can read it. I can speak it very little. In a way, I can get away with that because most of my communication now due to COVID is writing. So that's perfect for me. But on the ground, I have my own interpreters, especially if we're dealing with, the native languages. I have my own interpreters who are able to translate for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, when we are in Senegal, it's a combination. We communicate by spirit, the language, and also through interpreters.
Okay.
And they,
Right.
we look at dealing with the translators in terms of as providing employment to a lot of the local people in terms of that's one of the things that we do. We hire drivers and translators when we are there.
Good.
Work with us. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Same in Ghana as
and
well.
Broken English and broken Wolof.
I speak broken tree. My tree.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
My experience with the language barrier, there's not a lot of people who speak English, but there like every now and then you can find like communities or one person or two people in the family who speak a little bit of English, and you can kind of like mix it in with your broken Wolof.
Okay.
But what I found helpful, just like in terms of getting around on your own, is like before you leave the house, just ask, okay, what do I need to say when I go to the store? Or what do I need to say to tell the taxi driver? So just if you get those little pieces first, then people won't necessarily stand up and look at you like you have two heads. But because it definitely happens. Sometimes you start the conversation, they're like, oh, okay, she speaks Wolof, and then you get into the conversation, they're like, what is that? So if you just get your foot in the door, like just ask, okay, how do I say this? How do I say that? Just give yourself little by little, then you'll be okay.
Okay, great.
What I also did find too, because when I do my research projects, I tend to spend like 6 months, 4 to 6 months in a particular country, and I find after I have to be in a particular spiritual place, like a calmness, and I'm able to understand. It's the weirdest thing. My interpreter would tell me, I'm like, no, I fully understood every word he just said, and someone did say this, I can't remember, but the spirit also plays a very big part of it, because although he's not speaking my language, I could understand every word because it actually does go through the spirit, and you can actually feel and understand through the mannerisms and the energy that they're also portraying too. So, but after a while, you tend to soak in the language as well.
Okay, great. Okay. I put a couple of the addresses in there. because some of them were in the private chat, so I had to pull into the public area. And also wanted to acknowledge CADA, one of our sponsors here in Miami, the Contemporary African Diaspora Art, headed up by Ludlow Bailey, also one of our one of our sponsors, and he's doing some amazing work internationally with artists. He's very much involved with the Art Basel that we have every year in Miami. However, of course, this past year we didn't have it, or it was, it was more virtual, but definitely not the same. So I wanted to acknowledge him as well. And also, I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, can you put up your link or your entity, because I want to acknowledge what you're doing with your narratives, your storytelling project. Can you help me with that? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'd like to just, if you can post it in the comment, that'd be fine. Thank you so much. So again, I want to thank the Friends of the African American Research Library and Cultural Center here in Fort Lauderdale. I invite you, if you haven't been to our facility, whenever you're in the neighborhood, please come through. We're a 60,000 square foot building. We have a 300-seat auditorium. We have, excuse me, seminar rooms, conference room. We have a 5,000 square foot art gallery that is the size of an NBA basketball court. We have special collections and archives. Some of our highlights are Esther Roll's collection. Esther Roll was from Pompano Beach, Florida. You may remember her from Good Times. And we, and we recently did a play, and we did it on a mobile theater outside because of COVID. It went really well, and we're going to be showing it again next year. Hopefully we'll be back in the auditorium by then, and we'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary next year. So please keep in touch with us so you'll know what we're doing. We also will be having our first biennial Black Film Festival. This coming summer, we're doing our annual South Florida Book Festival. It will be virtual, but we want you to keep in mind that that's usually the second weekend in July. So you can go online and find out more about that. And we also have a Comic-Con conference coming up in the fall. So, Mr. Anderson just posted up his information about the 1,000 Heroes, his project that he's doing. So unless there's anything else from our audience or our, Sister Andara, yes, you got it. Go ahead, man.
Yes, I just wanted to say again, thank you for inviting us to this panel. I think one of the most important takeaways from everything that we said, and everything is valuable and important, but that we know that we always have been African people, regardless of what country you've been shipped off to. So many times we see people that looks like, you look so much like my cousin, you look like my auntie, and they don't speak the language, and you go, oh, okay, or you came from someplace else. My thought is always, these are your family. The ties may have been broken, but it's still your family. One of the over the years within the arts and teaching African arts and not being born of Africa, we had a controversial thing about who's the real African versus the whatever you're going to call the other person. If you say this one is a real African, right. But I've always felt in my heart, and have always been raised, we never had a controversy in the Caribbean to know our African roots. So that wasn't even a conversation, that we would have. And if you have it and you feel it in your heart, to me, nobody can take it away and tell you that you're not a real African, because the real Africans are us. People from the African diaspora. We've been all over the world. We are all over the world. And so many times people say, oh, we lost so much of our culture. And my argument is always, we didn't lose it. It's been displaced. It's been renamed. It's been transferred. It's almost the same thing that Professor Smalls is saying. So I think that's the foundation and the roots of us even doing everything that we do, because we know we always have been African. So we're not taking anybody else's culture. This is ours.
Right. Thank you so much. So we're down to about 6 more minutes. And I'm just putting a couple of other things in the chat so we have it, so the public can have it. And if anybody else has any more comments you'd like to share, or anything you want to put in the public comments, now would be a great time to do it. Again, I want to thank everyone on the call. Mama Andara Kumba, Baba Albara Wali Rahman, out of Brooklyn. Their connection is to a place called Rufis, Senegal, outside of Dakar. She's an amazing dancer. He's an amazing drummer and musician. And they go back. We go back in our roothood. I mean, she's a descendant of Pearl Primus, the anthropologist, the dancer. So it's pretty amazing. Baba Wali, his Baba was a saxophone player. So
Al King.
Yes, Al King from Georgetown, South Carolina. So it's in there. And Fatu, oh, she's right on it. The spirit, the seeds keep coming, the eggs keep growing. So welcome and good luck on your journey. I know you're going to continue to do a fantastic job. And I also want to thank my sister here in Florida and her king. Really nice to have her. When we met the first time in our lobby, she was vending, and I remember getting some things from her, from Wonderful Shea Butter, and we talked and found out we had roots back up in New York and White Plains and the Bronx, and and then her king's Jamaica, and we find ourselves connecting on spiritual path. We got a group here that we connect with, and we haven't seen each other for a while and face to face, but nonetheless we had that connection. So we had a wonderful expo at the convention center. She and I met, and we had a ball, didn't we?
We had too much fun. Dr.
There were Africans from all around the world, so that was wonderful. And cousin James, he was here a few. Well, that was prior to COVID. He came to do a lecture on Haiti. Had an auditorium full, standing room only. Mm-hmm. So, it was wonderful, well received. I had to protect my cousin from some of those women that was like trying to take him home. I was like, my goodness, man, y'all got to step back. It's time for y'all to go home. You don't have to go home, but you got to get out the auditorium now. So I want to thank him because he continues to inspire me. And it's funny, when we first met, I was doing a genealogy conference in the Harlem State Office building, and he came in and signed it, and that's when we found out that we were cousins from Georgetown. So that was pretty amazing, and we've been connecting ever since. And then Natasha is my girl from Barbados. That's where we met. I was doing my dissertation research, and we spent many hours in the National Archives of Barbados. She's got connections. We have connections to the Bronx as well. And I'm so happy that my sister, made the plunge back. Oh, I'm getting some feedback. I'm so happy that the sister made the plunge back to the motherland. And again, I want to thank the Mahdi's. They had to leave, but I want to thank them. They came live today from Dakar, Senegal to join us. And I also want to thank Brother Power and Sister Future. They couldn't join us today after all, but they're doing some amazing work out of Memphis, Tennessee, and they go back and forth to Ghana for the last 15 years. So also they have a film I got to shout out, Made in Africa. Wonderful film. We showed it for the first time at the Bronze Kingdom in Orlando last January. So if you haven't seen that film, please make it a point to see it. Made in Africa. Really nice film about the connection between, a brother that two brothers go to Africa, and one is like, oh, what do I want to go there for? And ends up, connecting with an African sister, and that was it. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. We are at the top of the hour, like 2 minutes. Again, I also want to thank our audience participation. I need to share this comment from BB DuPoint. She says that Pearl Primus is her cousin, and I'm going to put it in the thing now. that's the woman that I told you a few weeks ago that told me that there was some connection to Primus. So maybe y'all can make a connection through the chat or whatever, to follow up on that. And she's also in New York, so that's a good thing. I really want to thank my extended family, my friends, my family members that are here on the call with us today. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much. Everyone, please take care, stay safe, and let us know what you're doing. Okay, let us know what you're doing. So, if we can support, if we can join on a trip as we plan for the future, just keep us posted and we'll help get the word out. Hi. Yeah, we'll help get the word out. Hello, would you like to say something as we leave?
Go say it. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi.
What are you learning, Ghana? How do you read? What do you say? Akwaga?
It's a little side. It's okay. We thank you. The smile is good enough. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Peace and blessings. And on that note, family, we're gonna sign off now. This will be available on YouTube. So for your friends that couldn't make it, you can see the recording. It'll be on YouTube. Okay. Thank you so much. God bless. Godspeed. Ashe. Ashe. Mudupwe. Bye.
Bauer.